Thomas Frank said, the surgery went well, but the patient died. Listen, I wouldn't have him playing Operation anytime soon around my house. I'm not on his team.
I actually think Danzo is one of the most underrated defenders in the Premier League. I think if we would have won, Levy would have gone, well, look, we can do this. We can take PSG. Sure. We can win a Super Cup. Now, more than ever, we need to invest in, I think creativity is where we lack.
It's crazy to think, though, by the way, that poor season domestically last season, we're talking about not picking up a second trophy in 3 months.
Your club, Palace, did.
Exactly, yeah.
They set the benchmark.
Richarlison probably had the best game I've seen from him in the Spurs shirt.
Well, in this scenario, it's not difficult for me. I want Eze as a Spurs player. I really do. I don't want him as an Arsenal player, of course. None of us do. And if there's anywhere that I would like him to leave Palace, if he was ever to leave, it would only be to Spurs.
Daniel's talking about his ambitions. He talks about he wants to win the league. You keep bouncing. He bounces back more times than Alan Partridge.
It reminds me of, have you ever watched Benidorm before? There's a character in there, he always says when he orders his Chinese, I want chips and rice. That's me. I want Eze and I want Sevilla. I want both.
Yeah, why not? Hello and welcome to a brand new season of Inside Spurs, talkSPORT's dedicated Spurs show where we talk all things Tottenham Hotspur. I'm your host, Majestic, and joining me on the show today from Sonny Talk Spurs, Sonny Snelling joins me, and former Premier League midfielder and big Spurs fan and good friend of mine, Darren Ambrose, in the studio. How are we, chaps?
Yes, I'm feeling all right. I know that it wasn't the result we wanted last night, but a load of positives to take from it. I'm really happy with our current state, I'd say.
Well, of course, we are reacting on last night's defeat in the Super Cup. You got to win a European trophy to get there in the first place, Darren, of course. So before anyone starts...
No, you're right. And look, you get a little bit criticised. The old Spursy tag come back a little bit last night, but I agree with Sonny. I was impressed, particularly 85 minutes of that game. I thought we went away, had 13 shots against a PSG side that won the Champions League, by the way. I know they've not been back in long, but I just thought it was a good performance all round until the very end when we conceded. Look, when we conceded the first one, I think we could all see another one coming.
Well, do you want to hear the most Spursy story for me?
Go on.
So I was in Mallorca, right, flying back last night. So I was watching the game on my phone. Yeah. And I'm boarding, I'm waiting, I'm thinking, come on, hold on. Get to 82, 83 minutes, and the lady's like, we're taking off now, can you turn your phone off? Yeah. And I literally, it's 2-0 up. I'm like, surely not. Yeah. And I put in the group message to the boys and girls. I'm like, please, hold on. Let me land with another trophy. Yeah. I'm like, how amazing is this for Thomas Frank to get... I landed back to Gatwick and could not believe. I looked at the talkSPORT app. Spurs lose on penalties to PSG. It was, listen, when you get that close, it's sickening. But like you said, there are lots of positives to take from it. Yeah. And I think we've got to start, of course, with Van der Ven getting on the score sheet after his heroics in the Europa Cup final.
We wouldn't be there without him, would we?
Exactly. No. So it was like it was justification for his clearance off the line.
Absolutely. And first and foremost, Bentancur, wasn't it? The initial chance, brilliantly, how he kept that down. It was a good save from their goalie, but he tapped in the rebound. Van der Ven, I'm delighted that he's still here because towards the back end, there's rumours and Romero as well, been given the captain's armband. Delighted with that because if those two can stay fit and create the partnership that we know that can be achieved from those two, it's going to be a tough centre-half pairing to break down.
Well, I'd like to go in on that as well because it wasn't a pairing last night, it was the three. With
true.
Danso added into that, which was nice to see, Sonny, because we could clearly see that Thomas Frank has gone into the game with a game plan with the wing-backs and the three. That three there with Danso, Van der Ven and Romero, that's a strong three.
I actually think Danzo is one of the most underrated defenders in the Premier League. We got to remember, he came in last year during turmoil, and even in the Europa League final when he came on at the end and shored it up, he just looks really good. He's competent, he's pacey, he's strong. And by the looks of it, he won the long throwing competition because it looks like he's going to play an important role for some set pieces.
We hadn't seen that before, Darren. That was something new for his... Well, he's obviously got it in the locker, but we hadn't seen it under Postecoglou. Something that Frank's obviously wants to utilise. We know from Brentford times that Frank likes the set piece, he likes the ball in the air. Yeah. And I thought yesterday that's what we did really well with the set pieces.
That's no fluke, by the way, knowing he's got a long throw. Now, it's probably no fluke that Ange Postecoglou didn't know. He's not just turned up one day and had a little game in training. And,
he's got the Rory Delap gene or something.
And took the throw in. He's obviously said to everyone who can take a throw in, or who's got the best delivery or whatever, because he'd know. And if we could utilise that, Because that's a weapon, by the way.
Yeah.
And if we can utilise that, there'll be goals for that, for sure.
I think Darren makes a good point there about keeping them fit. By playing the defensive line we're playing now, we're seeing Van der Ven use his sprinting and his pace in like logical areas, like in the box to just close down. We saw it last night. A lot of our defenders and wing backs were doubling up on PSG. Apart from the goal at the very end was the only time we didn't do it. So when he uses that pace, same with Danzo's got that pace, and Romero just to sweep across and put it out for a corner. A lot of times keeping the ball in play as well. It's a very resolute Tottenham defence now, you could say. I know we did concede 2 in the end, but it's more savvy, it's street smart, it's getting the job done in certain areas, and I'm very positive with what I've seen so far.
Well, one of the signings, of course, that started was Kudus, and I thought his first half, especially, his performance was fantastic. Obviously, I think when he came off, it affected Spurs' sort of
100%.
potential to get out of trouble. He looks really strong on the ball. He's always looking to get past someone. I think, we're looking at what he could potentially add to the side, Darren. I think he's an outlet that we've been missing.
Yeah, I thought it was excellent. I really did. I thought he gave us that spark, that extra, something special when he got the ball. And you know what? I didn't criticise the signing, but I was asked when he signed, when the Morgan Gibbs-White situation happened, and we already had Kudus, I just thought, it's a good signing. Kudus, he didn't do particularly well at the back end of his West Ham career. Understandably wanted out. So I thought it's a good signing. But watching him last night in that team, in that style of play that Thomas Frank wants, I think he could be a real success. And it's something that we haven't had for a little while. Is it that special talent? And again, keep these players fit, and I think he'll be a great signing for us.
And I think he's a winger, you say it there, that we haven't got. One who can dribble from deep, he's strong. And what I like about it now is people are worrying about what's going to happen to Brennan Johnson and Odebear. They all offer something different. Johnson will be used on counter-attacks for pace. Kudos shows his dribbling, his strength. And, I mean, now, what we've seen for the price of wingers, Brian Mbeumo going for 70.
Poor.
55 million looks like a bit of a steal.
Yeah. Sometimes that's it. Sorry, mate. Sometimes that gets criticised, doesn't it, in terms of, oh no, what's going to happen to Brennan Johnson now? What's going to happen to this player?
We never have depth.
That's
great. We need depth as well.
That's great to have a squad that you can think, well, take Kudus out if he gets injured or he needs a rest. Put Brennan Johnson in, gives you something different as well. We'll arrive late in the box and get his goals. We need a squad. We need a squad this season.
Well, what that shows me is the manager's intent to play different styles of football in different moments of games.
Yeah.
And ironically, we were talking off air about the fact that in his post-match conference, Thomas Frank said, the surgery went well, but the patient died, which sounds a bit strange, but I understand what he's saying. Listen, I wouldn't have him playing Operation anytime soon around my house. I'm not on his team. But, I understand what he's saying, because for 85 minutes of that game, I know PSG, we've got to take into account they're a week back into training. They did look quite, rusty in places, but their quality and their depth showed in the end. But I think, the idea that he is willing to adapt to different situations was one of the biggest criticisms people had of Postecoglou.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And what we see last night was a team that said, come and break us down, essentially. I wouldn't even imagine they had over 200 passes, Spurs, in that game.
No.
PSG totally dominated possession, but it wasn't rushing in and shutting down in ones and twos. It was a team unit. They were together, break us down, the three at the back, and they couldn't. For 85 minutes, they couldn't. They had opportunities, but they couldn't break us down. And then it was just that lack of concentration at the very end. So we're already seeing a different style and that adaptation that Thomas Frank brings to the football club. And I've been impressed.
What would you say, Sonny, looking at that last night, what are we missing then?
I think, first of all, what you've got to say is a lot of people thought we were going to be battered in this game.
7-0.
Yeah, 7-0, 8-0. So the fact that we took them to penalties in general is an amazing feat under a new manager, a new style. If it was Ange Postecoglou, it probably would have been double digits.
Yeah.
I know he leaves a legend after winning that trophy last year. But
we have to accept, though, going 2-0 up and not holding that, especially when there's 5 minutes. That's not good enough.
But there was things from that in the Bayern Munich game. I think sometimes we are defending a little bit too deep. It's like gone from one extreme to the next. We invited the pressure. We allowed a long shot from Lee Kang in, and it went in the back of the net. It was a wonder strike. But what we need is, and not to sound like I'm a nut job here, but the loss now, I think, like, if we would have won, Levy would have gone, well, look, We can do this. We can take PSG.
Sure.
We can win a Super Cup. Now more than ever, we need to invest in. I think creativity is where we lack. You know, when you add up Son and James Maddison and Kulusevski's goal contributions, it came to 60 goals last year and assists. That's a massive chasm to fill. Kulusevski's not back until maybe later this year. Maddison out probably till the end of the season, and Son's now in the MLS. So we need to sort of fix those issues. I think Tottenham have a lot going forward. As we say, Kudus is good. Solanke's a bright spark. Tel and Odebear have their place as well. But I still think there are moments where some of our best passers in the team are our defenders. Like Romero has got those punchy passes, or a Bentancur. We're not seeing any creativity.
Saw a lot from yesterday.
Or Porro, but we're not seeing much creativity from the middle of the park, and that's where, you know, and we're going to come onto it shortly. Some of the signings need to be made in that area of the field. Absolutely,
and we will get into that in a moment's time. Of course, going to penalties, it is a bit of a roulette.
Yeah.
We got to talk about. I thought Solanke's penalty was brilliant. There was a few really good penalties in there. Vicario, for me, I thought, listen, it's very difficult as a keeper, but we'd seen it in the Euros for the Lionesses, how important it is to know what your opposition are doing.
For
every single one. It's just like, was there any homework done on those penalties?
I mean, it's harsh to put the blame on Vicario.
It's not a blame.
No, in terms of the penalties and whether he can get near them, you can do your homework for sure.
But it's still a roulette.
It's still a roulette, and if you're confident,
you ever missed a big penalty, Darren?
I've missed a big penalty. Yeah, I've hit the bar before. Yeah,
what penalty?
That's harder, isn't it?
That was that was the first minute of the game.
First minute?
Yeah,
you missing penalties?
I aimed for the top corner, hit the bar. And then,
trying to show off.
But the next game, QPR was 1-0 down. Last minute of the game, won a penalty. Aim for the top corner again. Top corner
again.
But look, if you're confident, which PSG are, and a few of the Spurs players, by the way, didn't look confident stepping up, which was frustrating. But if you do, a keeper can do their homework. But if you're a good penalty taker, you'd change what you're doing. You'd change what you're doing. I was off track. I watched the Ipswich game. George Hurst took a wonderful penalty against Birmingham. He changed what he was doing, had the conviction, and it was saved. So it is a lottery in terms of that. But Vicario just didn't seem to get anywhere near any of them, really.
Yeah, it's really concerning, especially because going into that shootout, they didn't have Donnarumma, who is known to be like an absolute nightmare from penalties. Yeah. So it was frustrating, and especially, I always think, and I don't know what your opinion is on this, Darren, it's that third penalty is always the one. That's where, like, and the fact that we went ahead, it was all down to that third penalty. And I think maybe Romero taking it over Van de Ven would have been my choice. You know, I could imagine him, Harry Maguire,
or having Porro earlier. Having Porro earlier.
Yeah, I mean, Frank even said, he said, maybe we should have practiced penalties. He sort of admitted that it hasn't been at the top of his agenda.
They probably had that game plan set up against PSG that they had to nail, which they did so well for so long. So that's where the frustrating points come into it. Again, just looking at the substitutions, just to go back to the game, back to what you're saying about the transfers, just felt it weakened us a little.
Yeah, I think the choices we had off the bench were, I would have gone, I think Richarlison probably had the best game I've seen from him in the Spurs shirt. So the Solanke swap made sense. But then what we've got to remember is Solanke's only had 30 minutes, and that was in a game against Reading, first pre-season, where they had two different teams in each half. So it was chucking him in. And I think Tel for Kudus is, you know, you could say like for like, but Kudus just offered that strength. I would have kept him on maybe. And even Archie Gray coming on for Polina, I believe. It's a game, again, where Polina was shielding, he was strong. Archie Gray, we haven't seen much of him in midfield. And I know Thomas Frank admired him, he wanted him at Brentford. So it's one of those things where I've seen a lot of people talk about the subs being wrong. But how many times last season did we see Ange Postecoglou making two late subs? And I had a conversation with a Spurs fan upstairs who said, but the subs in the Europa League final were good. And I was like, yeah, fair play. But it is such a mind game. And I think what Tottenham will take from this, and Thomas Frank, is there will be so many learnings from this, and he'll realise that maybe I now know in these sort of game states who I'm bringing on. Should he have maybe brought a Brennan Johnson to run at them a bit more? I think he was quite adamant to defend that lead in the end, and that probably was our downfall in the end.
I also think that, again, they didn't win the match. They didn't pick up the trophy. It's crazy to think, though, by the way, that we're talking about such a poor season domestically last season, that we're talking about not picking up a second trophy in 3 months. It shows how
your club Palace did
exactly. Yeah,
they set the benchmark.
It shows there is positivity at this club, and there's a lot more now. And what it will show, I did think it was a drop-off when the subs came on. So maybe that is an opportunity for Thomas Frank to go to the powers that be and say, look, we do need some help because we don't want to drop off too much. Every time I make subs, which he's going to have to throughout the season, we don't want to start conceding and drop it and the levels to drop off. So we need some players now that can step straight into that first team and not just be a squad player.
Before we move on to talking about the transfers, player of the match, Sarr?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Best game he's ever played for Spurs?
I think people going into this season didn't realise how pivotal he could be for Thomas Frank. The legs in an 8 position, and we saw him play 10 in pre-season quite a lot, and people were a bit like, oh, that's surprising, but he is quite versatile as a midfielder and can offer quite a lot.
The thing is as well, he's getting the years of the Premier League under his belt now. He's really felt it out. I feel like he's got stronger as well. His ability to shield has got a lot better. And I think, especially with the disciplinary thing going on with Basuma, maybe Thomas Frank's gone to him, you're my guy. Show me you're my guy, you know?
Yeah. I think he has to, and I think he has to accept that, Sarr. And I think he is going to be the guy. Last night was the best I've seen him in a Spurs shirt, for sure. Yeah. Obviously, he scored the wonder goal against Arsenal as well, so it can show you what he can
Europa
bring.
League final.
But what's happening with Basuma is disappointing, to say the least. Yeah. But you've got someone in Sarr there that Basuma can look at and think, I want to be that player. Yes, you need to get over your disciplinary issues, but I want to be that player. I want to sit there and do that. So that can only be healthy in the future.
Did you see who got man of the match, by the way? Dembele.
Yeah, I know.
What was up with that?
I'm not sure. FIFA Ultimate Team man of the match.
One assist in it,
You are watching Inside Spurs Talk Sports, dedicated Spurs show where we talk all things Tottenham Hotspur. Of course, we're reacting after the somewhat disappointing defeat to PSG in the Super Cup, losing 4-3 on penalties after 2-2 in normal time, which brings us nicely to talk about transfers and transfer news because, as we've all agreed, the squad depth is something we need to look at. Just to make everybody aware of the signings that we have made in the summer already. Of course, Pellegrini, as you mentioned, on loan from Bayern. We brought Kudus in from West Ham. Tel and Danso become permanent moves. And we've also brought in Takai and the Vucevic as well. He's also here as well. Let's just talk about Tel quickly, because a lot of Spurs fans are not too sure about Tel and didn't think he did enough in his loan spell to warrant a move. Now, I have this conversation with a few Spurs fans. Now, if everyone's so quick enough to say that Postecoglou was not the right manager and his style of football wasn't right, which everybody's agreed on, then all of these players need a fresh chance to show what they can do under a manager who's like Thomas Frank, who supposedly can develop players.
I agree. I agree also with the majority that he hasn't done enough yet in a Spurs shirt. So for me, he's not an automatic starter. But let's face it, before he came, Majestic was one of the most sought after young footballers in Europe, and Spurs got him on loan.
But can I just jump in on that one? That always seems to be a Spurs thing that we say is like Ndombele, most sought after person in Europe. Lascelles are the most sought, and they were all not very good.
No, you're right.
So it's like, are we just creating a narrative, or was there people in for these?
Well, I'm led to believe there was. I'm led to believe that he is a very talented footballer.
Was someone doing the PR saying most sought after person in Europe?
Didn't get enough game time, but it was so he obviously come to Spurs. But look, he ain't done enough yet. Last night, I don't think he'd done enough either. No. So he needs to improve. But it's a player that, if you can get it right, there's clearly talent there. We've seen it. And if you can get it right, maybe he's a little bit too confident at the moment that he is that player that everyone was after. He needs to get that mentality away and try to work on his game and think, we're in a Champions League season. I want to be setting my marker, setting my tone of what I can do. And he needs to improve. And if he improves, then we've got a real player on our hands.
And how difficult is that as a player going somewhere with expectations? Because I think, obviously, you probably went to Newcastle with that same kind of expectations as a young man.
Yeah.
Can you feel the pressure?
Absolutely, you can feel the pressure, and you need to be, first and foremost, you need to be a good player, and secondly, you need to be mentally strong to be able to handle that pressure, to be able to handle us sat here now and supporters and having a little bit of criticism coming your way, and you need to knuckle down basically and say, no, I'm going to prove I'm the player that Spurs signed.
Do you think there's something there that you can build upon, and someone like Thomas Frank can get the best out of him? Or
I think Thomas Frank is, we can see the attacking talent he's improved from Brentford Watkins, Benrahma, Mbuemo, Visser, Tony. So there is that track record there. I think what happened was he came into a season last year, well, same as Dan's, what I was saying earlier, it was turmoil. And I'll be honest, he spent more time being a player liaison officer, calming fans down.
You're absolutely correct.
Chucked in the deep end, doing media duties, calming Ange. Like it was a bit of a all over the place season for him. And at the end of the day, we got the price down. It was being touted at 50 million. We did it for 30. I mean, if you add in the loan fee, I think it is about 40 all in all. And I think what we were worried about is we did send him back to Bayern. Would he have been the one that got away? And the problem he has at the moment with a lot of these Spurs players, it's like, is he a winger? Is he a striker? Where does he fit in this team? And I think that could be a positive. Like the world's his oyster. He needs to now go and make his mark on it, get a few goals, get a few assists. Because there were some cameos last year where he did do quite well.
Villa in the Cup, I thought, was his best game.
So there is that potential there. He's just got to, stay headstrong and just.
Let's
the world
face
can
it
be
as well.
oyster.
At the end of the day, and we know Daniel Levy and the powers that be, it's a business for them, and they've picked up one of, as we said, most talked about players before he came to Spurs, the talent in Europe for 30 with 40 million with the loan fee. Daniel Levy could think, if I get this right, we've got double that in a couple of years.
So you mentioned the word business there, obviously because of the Harry Kane transfer. Do you think maybe there is a business element there with the relationship between Spurs and Bayern now, with Palhinha coming on loan as well? Perhaps there's like sort of good gentleman
Free
business
pre-season
there.
friendlies in 2 years as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely. Even with maybe an eye for Harry Kane's possible return one day, who knows? Maybe it's all about
keeping him happy.
Yeah, maybe there's discussions that's going to help them if we take him. Obviously, seeing Luis Diaz go into Bayern Munich as well, the money that they've spent out trying to get in and balancing books. And just numbers at the club as well. Perhaps there is an element of that we just don't know about. Just to bring everyone up to speed about the possible transfers at the moment, just before we started broadcasting the podcast today, there has been rumours that Spurs are putting in official bid for Eberechi Eze. Let's go straight to former Crystal Palace man Darren Ambrose on this, because, of course, for you it's a difficult one, wearing two hats, a Palace legend, a Spurs fan. Thoughts on Eze? Well,
in this scenario, it's not difficult for me. I want Eze as a Spurs player. I really do. I don't want him as an Arsenal player, of course. None of us do. And if there's anywhere that I would like him to leave Palace, if he was ever to leave, it would only be to Spurs. Because I support Spurs.
Otherwise, stay and be a Palace legend.
Otherwise, stay... increase your legendary status that you've got at Crystal Palace, but he clearly has ambition. He clearly wants to play Champions League football.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. He's turned 27 this year. If you're looking at sort of the golden period of being a footballer, is probably from 25 to 30. Are Palace likely to be in the Champions League in the next 3 years? As good as they've been?
No, they're not. Let's be honest. And with their demotion to the Europa Conference, they could win that. They're still only in the Europa League next year in terms
Whereas
of
if they was in the
League.
Europa, they could have won the Europa and got Champions League that way.
And I think Eze is a player for me. I've watched him the last few years, as we all have. He is a Champions League quality player. 100%. For me, he should be starting for England. And I look at it and look, the affiliation over Palace is second to none. I love the club. But is he going to be starting for England at the end of this season with a season at Palace in Europa Conference, finishing 10th, 12th, whatever they might do this season? I don't think he will. If he comes to Spurs and he pushes Spurs up the table, they're competing for European places in the league. They're going well in the Champions League. He's the main player. He has an opportunity to be starting for England. And I think that's in his thoughts as well.
Sonny, I'm going to make you a Spurs representative now. You've sat there in front of Eze. Why should he come to Spurs instead of Arsenal?
I think it's quite obvious. He's going to be guaranteed game time in the position he's strongest in, the 10. With Arsenal, they're looking for a left winger. Their midfield is already quite stacked. They've got Rice, Ødegaard and Zubimendi. So they're asking him to play on the left. And I've got a few Palace mates who say he's not a left winger. What he does is he drifts to the left. That doesn't make him a left winger. Arsenal's left winger they want is someone who's going to be direct in the mould of Martinelli, but with more goal contributions and assists. Hence why they were looking at Rodrigo from Real Madrid. So I feel like Eze to Spurs, I don't know about you, this is like not being all statistical or that, he just feels quite a Spursy player. He's got that sort of Spurs flair, like the Gaza type, really wears his heart on his sleeve. And I mean, we saw last year against us at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium what he can do and how threatening he can be, arriving late into the area, popping passes left, right and centre. I just feel like Tottenham, it would be like Arsenal did with Declan Rice. This would be a statement signing because after Morgan Gibbs-White, and I was really for the Morgan Gibbs-White signing. I thought it would have been a high caliber.
And that came out of nowhere as well.
That came out of nowhere. Personally, I think Eze is better than Morgan Gibbs-White, just for what he can offer. And even last year, I know he had a slow start to his season, Eze, but the way he picked up as the season
Don't they call him Springtime Eze at Palace?
Yeah. Look, for me, Eze is, and I agree with you, Sonny, I think outside the top 6, top 4, he's the best player in the Premier League, for sure. And I think he needs to be progressing his career. Look, he's a legend at Palace and he will continue to have legendary status. This is what frustrates me, though, because if we're led to believe it's correct, he's got a £68 million release clause, expires tomorrow, when the day we're filming this, expires on Friday. Why not just go and pay that? We're led to believe that they've put in 60 million bid. Just pay the money, give Palace the 68 million or whatever they want up front, get it done. Because
it's like the Ferdinand thing, put whatever you want on there.
Once that release clause expires, I don't think he's going for any less. We can bid less, but I don't think Steve Parish will allow him to leave for less.
What about if the player puts in a transfer request?
I don't think he will.
No, I don't think.
I
so.
really don't. Thing anymore, really.
Well, look at Isaac.
Well, the thing
has he though?
That's the thing.
The thing where you can behave in a certain way.
Yeah, that's the behaviour issue. The thing that happens is they just down tools, and he is definitely not going to be that. He's too good of a person to do that. And I'm not saying Isak isn't a good person, but Eze and what the club done for Eze but what the club done for Eze in terms of,
and you played for that club
made him a legend in terms of what he's done and the goals he scored. He won the trophy for them with his goals. He won't do it. I'm telling you now, he won't do that. Palace
fans, I'm sorry that your former midfielder is trying to steal your best player for the club that he genuinely loves.
Hey, 68 million is not a steal, by the way. Is that what it is for Eze, in my opinion?
The other thing that's going to say as well is we are led to believe as well that the Eze offer is not subject to us getting Savinho. Apparently, they're both on the table. If Spurs were to get Savinho and Eze... And it's looking like a Sonny's face.
I'm so excited. I've seen the graphics. It's the baller 11. That's what it'll be. I did a little deep dive about Savinho on my YouTube channel, and a lot of people say he only scored 1 goal, and he did, and it was against Leicester, which is probably more than Spurs did against Leicester last year. Let's put it frankly.
We lost to both times to Leicester last year, home and away.
And but what he did offer was, I think it was between like 9 and 10 assists. For Haaland usually, but his range of passing and his crossing from deep, it's just something again that we haven't got. We've saying about Kudus and Pelini, they're players we haven't got. This is another player who's got so much potential, and for the right fee, if we can get him just below the valuation that City are asking for, I think he'd be an amazing asset.
You know the times when you watch something like he's a baller. I was watching him last year.
He nutmegged a Dogie in the game we played against him. I'm like, this guy's got something about him.
Exactly that. And the one positive thing with Savinho, I'm thinking, is this Rodrigo to Man City idea.
Yes.
And I think...
And Arsenal miss out as well. So
yeah, well, this would be good. But I think you can see Rodrigo at Manchester City.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be the club that he would choose out of everyone.
Yep.
And then, of course, they need to get people off the books and the balancing of stuff as well. I think there's some homegrown issues there with Manchester City, maybe needing to balance that. You know, this is the chance, And we've all seen the YouTube clips with Daniel Levy and Mr. Gary Neville. And Daniel's talking about his ambitions. He talks about he wants to win the league. Now, if you want to go and win the league and compete at the highest level, you keep bouncing. He bounces back more times than Alan Partridge, right? Because, and you've got to look at it and go, you've had a touch there. And you've got to then go, look, I keep getting these little moments, right? There's not going to be another Kane. That generational talent, that's not going to happen. That Kane and Son thing, the Premier League's deadliest duo, that's gone. We're not going to see that again, right? You know, we've had the Bell moments and the Van der Vaarts and the Harry Redknapp getting us closer and closer. Every time we get a little bit closer, this is the moment. This is the sliding door moment for Spurs. You know, you could turn it into a film, right? And if we go and get Savinho and Eze, like you said, the intent, the statements, the way that you can draw players into the football club is going to send a message to everyone else. You said it already, and I hate to mention it on Inside Spurs, but Arsenal did it when they got Declan Rice, and they said, this is what we mean to do. You know? And that is what Daniel Levy's got the ability to do right now. And as I say, it gets a lot of stick, Daniel Levy, and I've actually given him a lot of flowers in recent times. This here is you showing to everyone, that was then, this is now, this is the future.
Yeah.
Eze, Savinho, 130 mil maybe for the pair of them?
That's quite good.
Yeah.
140.
Yeah. That's good.
Also, he wants to come to Savinho. Like, let's put it this way: he's not guaranteed game time at City. They've brought in Cherky. They've got Foden's going to be coming back, and they all want to fill that Kevin De Bruyne hole in the team. And maybe he wants to now see himself in another team that is showing a bit of intent that can win a European trophy.
World Cup year as well. This season is
the Brazil line. There's a lot of attackers who want to break into that.
Yeah, this is the season.
Hopefully, with Richarlison's in his ear, get him over. He wants to come, as you said, and those two signings, you said it, Madge. That is the intent. That is the intent that Daniel Levy's showing. We've heard the comments of we want to win the Premier League, we want to win the Champions League. Go and sign players that can produce those kind of trophies. No one's saying we're going to, but go and sign players. Give us that hope. Give us that hope that we all want, that we can actually continue our streak now of winning trophies. Brennan Johnson, in particular, I'm mentioning him because we've mentioned him previously. He's now not first choice.
Yeah, and then what happens is he goes, when I come on, I'm going to show you guys.
100%. I want to start.
You want to give the manager a headache, surely.
Yeah. Thomas Frank is good. We know he's notoriously good at setting his team up defensively as well, and in not conceding. Yes, conceded the last 5 minutes 2 goals, but with the 3 at the back, if that's the way we're going to go, what we need in front of them is creativity. You spoke about it earlier, Sonny. At the moment, we have lost a lot of our creative players. We need to add some. We've added Kudus. As you said, we've got Paulinho who's just going to clear up all the mess along with Sarr, seeing different side of Sarr. We need that player or those players that's going to make that difference and win us those games. And those are 2 of them.
It reminds me of, have you ever watched Benidorm before? There's a character in there, he always says when he orders his Chinese, I want chips and rice. That's me. I want Eze and I want Savinho. I want both.
Yeah, why not? Because, as I said, you have to look at the benchmark. And the benchmark this season for signings has been Liverpool.
Yeah.
And they've gone and they've set... The Premier League winners have said, we're going up a level.
We're like, we'll have that striker.
Yeah.
And we also want to get that striker and the best midfielder.
Yeah.
And it's just, if we want to, Daniel Levy, you mentioned him there in the Gary Neville. If he wants to act like a big club, this is how you dine at the big table. If you're back in the Champions League and you want to compete, because that's what I just said earlier. If we'd have won that, like how when we beat Liverpool a few years ago in the Premier League, and he was like, wow, look at us, we don't need to strengthen. And then Liverpool lost the Champions League final, went and got Van Dijk, went and got Alisson.
Yep.
You have to strengthen when you're on the up. And I know we finished 17th last year, but we did win a trophy. That's the gateway.
That's a great point that you make there, because again, back to my sliding doors references, I never forget that victory over Liverpool at Wembley. I think it was 4-0 or 4-1.
Yeah, something like that.
And he took Lovren off, didn't he, at half time?
Yeah.
And he was like, he's never playing again. And then they went and did the business, the big players that they needed to fill, and all of a sudden, the trajectory has led them to this point.
We were content, weren't we?
Yeah.
We can't lose this deal over 5-10 million. We cannot do that.
How many times have we done that?
We can't give...
Well, you can name the players, Jack Grealish, Bruno Fernandes.
But you can't give other clubs opportunities to go, right, we're going to show our hand now.
If we'd done Berahino, we wouldn't have got Son.
It's true.
So there is so, but in this instance here, Mr. Levy, from all of us here inside Spurs and the rest of the world, please
get it done.
Go get both of these now, because, like you said, it changes the whole trajectory. Imagine getting it done before Saturday, and they come out of the Burnley game with the shirts and that. It's just gonna
impacts teams around you as well. Teams around you thinking, Spurs 17th last season, struggle. Got Thomas Frank now though, good manager. Look at the players they're signing. Yeah. Look what they've done. Okay, went toe-to-toe with the best team in Europe last year. Went toe-to-toe with them. We lost on penalties.
They should be impressed, these signings.
We didn't lose the game.
If we
lost
won,
on penalties.
They would have attracted them. But even watching that, if I'm Eze, I'm like, a bit of that, because I could have been on the end of this. Yeah. Another player who's been linked is El Khanous from Leicester. But then I think he's good. He was good against us last year and scored. But again, it's one of those ones that if we sign him, it's like he could come good. Yeah. Whereas Eze, he's proven...
Well, he's third choice out of those 3.
Yeah, he's Premier League proven. And also, even if I'm Maddison or Kulusevski, I'm looking at it going, right, if Eze comes in, I've got to butt my ideas up as well.
We don't need people Googling players.
Yeah.
we want the players to go and play with him in England. He's unreal.
Yeah.
And that's the thing as well, is this, if we go and get those 2, all of a sudden, Paulinho, who was literally the best stopper in the Premier League before he went to Bayern Munich, Kudus, who was West Ham's best player. I know he wasn't great in the end, but
Ajax, you got
exactly. Yeah. And then you go Eze, and Savinho.
It might be one of our best windows if we can pull all that off.
100% in terms of Premier League ready, not waiting, not going, this could be. We did that last season with who we brought in. This is the season.
Yeah.
You've got Champions League football. Go get it done. Yep. You are listening and watching the Inside Spurs show here on the talkSPORT YouTube channel. I'm joined today by Sonny Snelling from Sonny Talks Spurs and, of course, ex-Premier League midfielder and big Spurs fan, Darren Ambrose. We're going to look ahead to the season now and this weekend's opener versus Burnley. And we've teamed up with talkSPORT Bet to bring you a special Spurs bet builder for that game. Spurs to win and score over 2.5 goals. And Brennan Johnson to score at any time. For details, head to the link in the description if you're watching this on YouTube or go to talksportbet.com, 18 plus, gambleaware.com. So let's just talk about that because we've got Brennan Johnson to score at any time. They didn't play in the Super Cup final. Who should start at the weekend against Burnley? We shouldn't start with back five.
I think, it's funny enough, it's the polar opposite game, isn't it? We're going to have tons of the ball.
Yeah.
This Burnley team, again, defensive, resolute. I think they only conceded about 14
goals.
Goals. Giving them a disservice there. 14 goals in the Championship last year. Scotty Parker has set them up
They've
really,
lost the goalie,
really well.
though.
And they've lost the centre-back. Egan Riley's gone to Strasbourg, I believe. So it's going to be very different. And the thing is, Tottenham now need to show intent and put Burnley to the sword. And I think by doing that, and this is where I keep banging the Kudus drum, we didn't have a player like him who can dribble, who can break down a low block, and he'll be able to do that. I think, again, maybe not the game for Brennan Johnson, because if you want a bit of pace at the end, possibly he can come on and make an impact. But when you've got more of the ball, Johnson's probably not your man. I think you need your dribblers, you need your passers. They're the ones who are going to unlock the door in a tricky game.
You're absolutely right there as well, because one of my biggest criticisms sometimes when I watch Brennan Johnson is like he's a little bit weak in the tackle. Now, what I saw yesterday with Kudus, the strength on him.
Yeah.
And he's only 25, I think. He's younger than I thought. He's got the sort of physicality of someone who's like 27, 28, who's been in the Premier League for years. You know, he was getting his body in the right positions. And like you said, when you're going to account at those kind of teams that are going to, want to come with a low block and that, you need somebody that can unlock that. I think it's been Spurs' biggest downfall for years, actually. Even during the times with Poch and stuff, there was times we'd draw 0-0 with Swansea at Wembley. I always used to remember it, and it's like, because no one could ever get past his low block. Yep. And I think Kudus is that guy that can unlock that.
Yeah, I do. And I think, obviously, speaking of those players we're talking about, Eze and Savinho, they could do it as well. That's why those are the players you need to win games like this. You don't want to come away from the first game against newly promoted Burnley, who have a feel-good factor, 0-0 or 1-1. You don't want that. You want to make a real statement at the start of the season, because then you go to Man City the next game, and who knows what's going to happen? Who knows what start they're going to have? You need to make an impact from day one to make everyone in the division think this is a different Spurs this season, and that's what we want. I mean, we're in agreement. We're playing back four, right?
Yeah,
Romero,
100%.
Van der Ven, Porro. Who, by the way, Porro, brilliant, and Udogie. Yeah.
Well, no, Spence.
You'd go Spence.
I think, Doggy's a bit come back from injury.
Oh, is
still.
he?
I think
Right.
I just thought Spence was great in the Super Cup. I
thought Spence was brilliant last year, and actually
I like him
disappointed when he got taken out of the team.
That's the thing. Going back to transfer talk, a lot of people saying we need a left back. I disagree.
No.
He's your left back.
Yeah.
Well, them two rotating, and then maybe we need a right back, but Archie Gray could fill in there. So I feel.
I mean, he can play either side.
Yeah.
Spence,
Yeah.
he could. I thought I was disappointed when he came out of the team last year. So yeah.
Man, he's playing against like Hakimi, doesn't care. Like he's fearless. I love Spence. He backs himself. He wears sunglasses indoors during interviews. Like he's
brilliant.
He's Mr. Cool. He's Mr. Cool, and I got a lot of time for that. Like you said, I think the back four it speaks itself.
Yeah.
Then you've got
Danso can come on as well.
Yeah,
if up if need be.
And then like we go into that midfield area, don't think you change it. I think it looked really solid, and I think this is going to be a season for Bentancur. A horrible season with injuries last year.
Yeah.
I think him and Højbjerg actually started getting a bit of a relationship together when he had some consistency.
Maybe him and Fellaini, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I think
maybe not in this game. I think that's too
much. But I think in those bigger games, like I think they can definitely.
Because I think what Thomas Frank will think is Palhinha is his Norgard,
yes,
and maybe a Bentancur is a Jensen or a Vitaly Janelt.
Yeah.
Their names, they're all so similar, the names of the Norwegian players at Brentford. But they're the runners. They're the ones who make it happen, the passers. And then Sarr is the legs. He's going to be the one who's working hard. And you got to remember as well, we're talking about 10s. What Thomas Frank wanted from his 10 at Brentford in Mikkel Damsgaard was someone who weren't just going to get goal contributions, working hard, tracking back.
Yeah.
Eze can do that. I think that's why he was playing Sarr there in pre-season, because he'd know he'd drop a little bit back. But again, I think Sarr in the 8 for this one. Or a Bergvall. I wouldn't be too fussed with either. I don't think we've seen too much of Bergvall in pre-season, only little cameos here and there. But we've got some nice options in the middle.
Who would you play wide? Solanke up top. Who would you play wide if you could have? Some one of them.
I'd play
Richarlison.
What is it? Oh, Richarlison and Solanke.
Yeah,
that's not a bad option.
Because
actually.
Richarlison.
Maybe an Odebear.
Yeah.
It's his former club.
Yeah.
Apparently, Frank really likes him.
Yeah.
Is
Are you
what the
surprised he
talk is.
didn't bring him on the other night then?
Yeah, if you really like someone, but again, perhaps in Frank's mind, is 2-0 up. He's not used to being the manager of Spurs yet.
Yeah,
he's thinking, nah, this is done. I don't need those boys. No, mate, this is Spurs. Get used to that. It's the roller coaster. But I think we all agree on. There's no respect shown. We go at them. It's at home.
100%.
3 o'clock kickoff Saturday afternoon. The European champions are back at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. You know, it's the new era. It's the Frank era. It's Sonny's gone. Not Sonny Snelling, but
I'm still here.
Yeah, you're still here. But yeah, I think this is a perfect opportunity. It reminds me of a couple of seasons ago. I think it was under Conte where we won like 4-0 at home against Southampton or someone, and it was just like
I don't think we can lose. We cannot lose. For me,
even draw.
No. We need to make an intent of this season, how we're going to play, how we're approaching it. New feel-good factor for Spurs. Thomas Frank taking charge. Won a European trophy.
New captain. We've not spoken about that quickly. Cuti Romero's captain. There was talk of him possibly going to Atletico Madrid. I thought there's no way we're stopping that. Him and Simeone. Just like,
match made in heaven.
Simeone could be his dad.
Yeah.
Like, is it his dad?
Two horrible guys.
Yeah. Imagine like playing paddle against them or something. It'd be horrible. They're throwing rackets. Rackets at you. Yeah. They are saying all sorts in their language. You just wouldn't want to play them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he is what a captain we've got there. I think it's going to really make him a little bit more mature with his decision making at times.
Yep.
And being the leader. You could see how over the moon he was with the decision. I think perhaps, a World Cup winning Argentinian captain.
Never lost a final.
Never lost, well.
In club and country.
Yeah, well, yesterday.
That's tough. Yeah, pre-season friendly though, isn't it?
It's glorified friendly.
Is that a final?
Not called the Super Cup final?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. It's a good decision though. Good decision. Yeah. Clever decision. Clever from Thomas Frank to put him, as you said, might mature him a little bit more. Sometimes a bit of a liability, isn't he? And he's going into challenges.
Less last year, though.
Yeah, but again, I think
next
to Van der Ven, he's different as well.
I think becoming the vice captain made that in him.
Yeah.
Like, I think he really loves that role of being the warrior and the leader.
He won't want to let anyone down, will he? He does not want to let people down.
I think sometimes we've unfairly given him the role of liability for red cards he's had in the past.
Yeah.
Mate, it comes to the big moments, he don't let nobody down.
It's true.
Yeah.
He was a beast in that European final. He was great yesterday, scored.
On his day, he can be up there with some of the best defenders in world football.
100%.
Like, strong, a good passer, comfortable on the ball, fast. Like, he's really, really good. And the next thing he has to do is he's only got 2 years left on his contract. Sign that.
Yeah.
That's what we need to do. If we can get him to convince to sign, then that goes to show. And by giving him the captain, I think that will make him want to
get the new boys in, do their deals, and get the numbers on the sheet.
Yeah,
and then offer him the top money.
Yeah. We've got wages now. Like since Son leaving, we have got so much headspace for wages to pay out.
And of course, half of the amazing Timo Werner's wages that we were paying as well.
Yeah, was he second or third on the list? My word, forgot about it.
Well, that's off. Like he would have been getting some good money. Let's just talk about predictions for the season now, and in terms of the competitions that we're in. 4 competitions. 2 of them probably winnable in the FA Cup and the League Cup, let's be honest.
Yep.
Yeah.
So let's start with the Premier League. What's a good season for Tottenham Hotspur in the Premier League this year?
I think between 6th and 8th would be really, really good. And I'm going to cover it there because we've still got the transfer window to expire. There's a lot of clubs in and around us yet to do some business. I think the top 4 picks itself, I won't say what order that is, but we're now competing with the likes of Villa, Newcastle, Manchester United, if they come back. And there's going to be a lot of drop-off. We were saying it before off air. what happens with Brentford? What happens with Bournemouth?
Yep.
Fulham's, West Ham, Wolves? Do they all shift a little bit? I'd say we've done a lot of good business compared to those sides. If Isak leaves Newcastle, they could drop off quite significantly.
20 plus goals gone.
Yeah, so I think but then Frank's never had to deal with this many games in the season, so there's a lot of caveats to it. So I think between 6th and 8th would be a very successful season.
A European place.
Europa League would be great. Go and win that again.
I know.
And if we get 5th again from the coefficient, then who knows? We could push for that as well, because there are teams. I think we're one of the stronger teams in and around those ones that I've named. It just depends on, we've got to pick up those results. I know 22 losses last year, terrible. But if we look
You've got to rip it up.
But if we look at Spurs as a whole, it's like going away to a Liverpool or an Arsenal and getting a result, but also then turning up against Leicester and Burnleys and Southamptons and that every week in, week out. It's becoming consistent, and I believe we can do that under Thomas Frank, and we won't be seeing...
I think sitting here now, as we speak, 6th to 8th is a great season. Yeah. You get those 2 players over the line that we're looking at.
And then
that's top 6.
Then you're guaranteed.
And if someone falls out and that struggles a little bit out the top 4, I think we're all in agreement. It's the same top 4 in
If you go get Eze and Savinho,
you're pushing for that.
You're in top 6.
Yeah. You have to be.
100%.
You have to be.
Yeah.
And if there's, like I said, if there's a drop off from one of the top 4 teams, you're the one trying to break into it.
Because like you said, not picking them, but Liverpool, Arsenal, Manchester City, and Chelsea.
In any order.
In any order, and then it's that.
Fourth.
And then it's then it's Newcastle, Villa, Spurs.
Yeah, and United.
Brighton, maybe have something to say about it.
United,
Everton,
Brighton.
You don't know how Everton are going to do.
Jack Grealish, I know. It's
David Moyes.
How we start is going to be very important to how we finish the season. And I know it sounds really cliche, but we got some winnable games to start.
Yep.
Get a good foothold, and then just move from there.
Yep.
In terms of the league and the cup and the FA Cup.
Yep.
Be nice to win an FA Cup.
Last season, Newcastle wins one and Palace wins the other. Yeah. So there's an opportunity there that you think
we went on a good run in the Carabao Cup.
Exactly.
We do forget that as well.
If you do it right, take it seriously, which is what we want to happen. Take these trophies and these cup tournaments seriously. There's a real opportunity to go far.
By Liverpool 4-0.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Even I think for Champions League as well, I'd take round of 16. I feel like when we look at there's still a chasm. I mean, I know we drew with PSG, lost on penalties, but there is still a big chasm between us and the top teams. But the way that the format is in the Champions League, we saw it, it's the same format as the Europa League, that league standing, you play a few different teams dotted around. I think we'll be in pot 3. So
look at Villa's success. Look at Villa's success last season. They were great in it. But again, the 2 signings that we've been talking about could be absolutely key to that. It goes to that. So again...
It's on the knife side.
Daniel Levy.
Mr. Levy, if you're watching, listening
Get
to
it
us,
done.
It makes so much sense to go what the business could be with those 2 additions.
Yeah. That's why I say 6 to 8, because we just don't know. It literally could swing.
Yeah, I think after winning the trophy last season, that taste for success, we were so close to getting another one in the pre-season Super Cup final that we're calling it now. It was so close.
Community Shield.
Yeah. That is like, come on, we want another taste of it. That moment, that night, the Bilbao night, the parade in North London.
Oh.
What would you take next year? Would you take 8th and an FA Cup or Carabao Cup, or 5th? If that gets you champion, would you take Champions League again and no trophy?
Trophy,
Trophy again.
We're all hungry now, aren't we? That's what it is.
Just winning that trophy, like you said, that joyous moment. Sat there with my kids, like.
But the only thing is,
they're lucky. Like he's seen them win a trophy.
As many as we all did before, isn't it?
The only thing I'd say with that is that trophy last season was just perfection. Because it got you Champions League football as well as the trophy. That's why everything that's been thrown at us by other fans, I'm not naming which clubs, are like, you played...
Tim Port.
All that kind of stuff. It's like...
It's a rubbish final. So what?
Yeah.
First and foremost, Liverpool brought the striker from the semi-final that scored against us.
Yep.
That's how good that they had in Ekatike.
And he didn't score against us in that second leg,
No,
did he?
exactly. But it's like... that was just so perfect because it gave us everything. Now, if you used to win the Carabao Cup or an FA Cup and not get into Europe, it could be a problem. That could be, especially
because of the finances as well.
Especially if we're going to go and get the Sevilla.
I'd get European. I'd take Conference, Europa Conference, and a trophy.
Yeah, but even that, it's got
Yeah, I
to be
know,
Well,
Europa.
if you win the FA Cup, you get Europa League. So, like,
there
yeah,
you
so
go.
I'll take that.
That's that.
I'll take that. I mean, we're sounding greedy now.
I know.
We'll take that.
We're just win them both, no? Carabao
I'd
and FA Cup.
like an FA Cup day at Wembley.
Finish 5th as well.
So, okay, there we go. All in for the FA Cup. We'll come 17th again, win an FA Cup, and we get into the Europa League and get another
Can you
trophy.
do a Chaz and Dave remix ahead of the cup final?
I'll do a Chaz and Dave remix. Well, I did one, didn't I, after we won with Wiley, didn't I? Guys, brilliant stuff, as always. It's the Spurs roller coaster. We're back in.
We're back.
Yeah, we're excited, you can tell.
Yeah, and
it's
of
got more
course,
excited as it's gone on.
here on Inside Spurs, you can keep track of everything to do with Spurs by watching us on the talkSPORT YouTube channel. Please make sure that you leave the comments below. Who do you think Spurs should be signing in this window? If Eze and Savinho, we get them over the line, is it a top 6 finish? Where would you be happy with Spurs finishing this season? Thank you, Sonny. Thank you, Darren.
Thank you.
Of course, you can subscribe to the talkSPORT YouTube channel as well. And don't forget, you can find me on talkSPORT Sunday afternoons alongside his former gaffer, Alan Pardew, for the final word. But from me, Sonny and Darren here on Inside Spurs, up Spurs.